Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory bolt action video. In today's episode we will be casting our ever analytical eye over the new sniper rules for bolt action 3rd edition. Warlord Games has recently revealed the new way that these marksmen are going to work in an intelligence report on their website. And let me tell you, there are some pretty big changes here. Some for good, some for bad, but all of them are going to drastically change how you use your snipers in game. And so without further ado, let's not mess around. Let's draw a bead onto the target. Pull the trigger right into today's episode. Good news, everyone! Bolt Action 3rd edition is just around the corner. And the best way that you can prepare for this new and exciting edition of one of my favorite games of all time is by getting yourself some new Bolt Action miniatures. But where can you get these models? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. There's an affiliate link down in the description below that'll take you straight to the Warlord Games website and you can get your World War II miniature fix right from the source. By using the affiliate link down in the description below, not only will you be getting some awesome models, but you will also be supporting the channel. A massive thank you to Warlord Games for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into the action. So first things first, the information I'm going to be talking about today can be found on the Warlord's website in one of their intelligence reports. And I will make sure that a link to that report is down in the description below so you can peruse through all of this interesting information at your leisure. But with that said, let's take a bit of a deep dive on what has been revealed in this article. Now, starting off, Warlord does address one of the big concerns that has been buzzing around the internet community. There's been a bit of chit and, dare I say, chat about snipers maybe not being very useful in 3rd edition. And a lot of this came from some of the earlier intelligence reports where Warlord revealed that there were going to be cover saves and also some of the other problems that snipers were going to have, such as no longer doing exceptional damage, meaning they couldn't one-shot officer teams or weapon teams or anything like that. Now, of course, if you're someone like me who loves MMG teams and loathes snipers, those earlier reveals were great. They were brilliant because finally I get to use my cool units like the MG42 team or the Vickers machine gun and not feel like I am actively handicapping myself. But of course, there are a lot of people out there that do like snipers. And so Warlord Games has released this article to try and head off some of those worries and some of those fears about snipers maybe being made redundant in 3rd edition. And it actually turns out that they are going to have some pretty big buffs to keep them relevant and to keep them pretty nasty as well. So the first thing that has been highlighted by Warlord is that don't forget you can take multiple snipers now. Previously in 2nd edition, especially in the generic reinforced platoon, you could take a single sniper. And so them being quite potent was a necessary evil, because if you can only take one of a unit, that unit needs to be able to achieve something each game. It doesn't have to do something every single turn, but you want to come away and think, wow, it was a good job I had that sniper because it was able to do X in that game. But now that you can take multiple of them, if they could still do exceptional damage, they would be weapon team deleting machines, and that would completely invalidate some other units in the rules. So Warlord has scaled them back to reflect the fact that if you like snipers, you can include a lot more of them in your army. But the real meat and potato of this article, the proper doozy, the hot tamale is Warlord has unveiled for our viewing pleasure the full sniper special rule. Reading it verbatim from the website, it says, the leader of this unit is equipped with a rifle with a high-powered telescopic sight. These units often include a second man, i.e. the team's observer, which acts as a loader in rules terms. In which case, the sniper rifle has the team weapon special rule, see page 103. This means that if the leader is killed, the second man can fire the sniper rifle with the usual -1 penalty to hit, as well as the -1 penalty to morale due to the loss of the leader. Now, before we go on with any more of these special rules, I think it's important to point out that Previously, if the sniper in the sniper team was killed, then the observer just ran away. Now, it seems like the observer can pick up that sniper rifle and keep doing the job, albeit not quite as effectively as he would be suffering a -1 to hit penalty. That's a big buff for snipers for sure. Secondly, we've got a bit of a hint to morale here. So in 2nd edition, if your unit lost its leader, then it meant that you would be -1 when it came to doing orders. But overall, your morale wouldn't be -1. You'd still be leadership 10 for a lot of things, just order checks that you got worse at. Now it seems like if your NCO or your leader, whatever it may be, has been destroyed, but the rest of the unit is still around, then overall you suffer a -1 to hit penalty for morale. That's not only going to affect order checks, but it could also affect things like when your unit takes 50% casualties if they want to stick around. So there's a bit of a big buff for snipers there with the whole they get to stick around, but there's very, very strong implications for morale still being pretty deadly and pretty important in bolt action. But getting back into the sniper special rule, unlike other units with the team weapon special rule, all members of a sniper can fire any weapon they are carrying in any turn when the sniper is not using his scope. And in assault, they can use beneficial rules like those from submachine guns to fighters, etc. When a sniper shoots using a fire or ambush order, the player can decide the sniper uses the rifle's scope, in which case the following special rules apply. The rifle changes to 36-inch range. However, if the target is then found to be within 12 inches, the shot misses automatically. The shot benefits from an additional +1 to hit modifier. Any hits go straight to damage, no cover saves allowed, and benefit from a +1 modifier on damage rolls against infantry and artillery units. If the sniper successfully rolls to hit and damage, the firing player can pick the squad leader in the target unit as a casualty. This includes NCOs, leaders of weapon teams and artillery units, officers, medics, observers, and so on. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. Firstly, snipers being able to use all of the other weapons that they come with is nice. I do believe that was something you got in 2nd edition, because I remember distinctly playing against one of my mates, Sam, and his US snipers both having submachine guns, and then surprisingly beating the crap out of one of my units in combat when I wasn't expecting it, because I just charged him with a bit of a remnant unit. Also, the fact that the 36-inch range for the scope, but the 12-inch minimum range still exists, that's the same as in 2nd edition as well. And interestingly, the shot benefiting from an additional +1 modifier to hit might seem like a new rule, but the end result is actually, it's basically the same as snipers always hit back in 2nd edition. And that is because the new base level to hit is a 4+. That was confirmed in the shooting rules intelligence report. So snipers always used to hit on a 3+. Now they hit on a 4+, but with a +1 modifier, so they're still hitting on a 3+. Interestingly, if there are any other to hit modifiers involved, then maybe your sniper might end up hitting on a worse value than it used to, because it used to always hit on a 3+ regardless of modifiers. So potentially snipers are going to hit just as good as they did. Potentially they could be hitting a little bit worse. But there are some new things for snipers to enjoy. Firstly, anytime you hit, you go straight to damage. This means that your opponent does not get a cover save. So you roll to hit, you roll to damage, aka wound if you're coming from 40k, and then your opponent does not get to take a cover save. And remember, there are no armor saves in bolt action, so these guys are going to be cutting straight through cover saves, getting rid of one of the biggest barriers to their potential as a one-shot weapon. And on top of this, they're going to get a +1 modifier to damage rolls against infantry and artillery. So this means if you're shooting against a veteran unit that is dug into cover, you're going to be hitting them on a 3 and you're going to be wounding them on a 4. Now, one of the big problems snipers always used to have in 2nd edition was that they would get the hit and then the shot would bounce off the natural toughness, the 5+ to damage, of veteran infantry. That's not a thing anymore. And if you're shooting at regulars, you're going to be wounding them on 3s, and inexperienced, you're going to be killing those guys on 2s, which is huge. Especially if you take into account that if you lose your leader, your inexperienced unit is going to be at a permanent -1 to its morale, not just to its order checks, to its morale. And then you combine that with the fact they would have taken a pin, and your inexperienced infantry, after being hit by a sniper and they've lost their NCO, are going to be trying to pass orders and do as they're told, potentially on a 6 or less. And that means on 2 dice, statistically, you are more likely to fail that than you are to pass it. So snipers could be really, really effective at just completely bogging down and neutralizing big blocks of inexperienced infantry that don't have the innately high morale to keep pushing forward even when they've lost their leader. Now, personally, I really like that feeling that snipers are going to have on the battlefield, because it feels more accurate. Back in 2nd edition, snipers going around and just deleting weapons teams just felt wrong. It felt unimmersive, but most importantly, it felt bad. It was a negative game experience. That's not going to be the thing anymore. But the idea of a lone marksman with a sniper rifle keeping an entire platoon of infantry down because they've lost their officer and they just haven't got the training or the experience to carry them through, that feels very realistic. Now, this is very anecdotal evidence, but I want to throw it out there. I was once talking to a soldier in the British Army who said that when he was on operation, they were going out on patrol, I should say, and his entire platoon got pinned down. His entire patrol got pinned down, going down a street, because at the other end of the street there was a gunman who was pretty accurate, and a few of their, I think a few of his guys got injured trying to like push forward, and so they basically, the whole platoon just got bogged down whilst they had to try and identify what building the shots were coming from. And the sniper kept moving around, and then essentially they just had to call an airstrike in to just solve the issue, to basically flush the guy out and make him run away. And they were never even sure if they even got the guy, but for multiple hours, this wasn't like, for 10 minutes they were pinned down. It's like for multiple hours, this one sniper was just taking pot shots at them, injured a couple of guys, and just kept everyone pinned down because they just couldn't locate him. And that really feels like what snipers are going to try and do in bot action. Now, if you've got masses of infantry and you've got a sniper, well, then there's the potential for your massive infantry to not be all killed by the sniper, but to be genuinely pinned down and to be held up because of the effects of this one unit. That feels a lot more like a disruption unit, which is what snipers are, rather than a death machine unit. But getting back into the intelligence report, one thing I noticed here, a bit of a stealth reveal by Warlord, is that they mention that your sniper can target NCOs and officers, but also leaders of weapon teams and artillery units. Now, I think this is a new thing. In 2nd edition, I remember you had your NCOs leading your infantry squads, like your riflemen, and you had your officers with a couple of attendants, and your medics could have a couple of attendants, and your observers could have a couple of attendants, but I don't remember there being any mention of like weapon teams or artillery units having sergeants or leaders. So it's cool that now in each unit there is going to be someone, a sergeant of some kind, who is going to be designated. Now, it's quite big having that, because as we know, if you lose your leader, then it means that your unit is going to be -1 to its morale. So it's possible for snipers not only to make big blobs of infantry potentially struggle to get around the board, but also be able to have an effect on artillery and weapon teams, making them much lower morale as well. So even though you're not outright destroying the traditional prey of the sniper, you can still heavily disrupt them, and you're not just plinking off one crew member at a time. You're actually putting a shot on, killing the leader of the machine gun team, and then for the rest of the game, it's going to be harder for your opponent to utilize the asset with the morale problems and potentially it not passing orders. So I quite like that. Again, snipers are not wiping units out anymore, but against pretty much any unit that is infantry based, it seems like they're going to have a very, very strong disruption dynamic. However, if there's one area which I think is a mistake with the new sniper rules, it's the changes to them no longer being able to pick out special weapons and equipment inside units. So you used to be able to, when shooting a sniper, choose to kill the NCO if you wanted to, but against some armies like Germans who the sergeant could very easily be replaced, you would instead go for things like the LMG gunner. You can't do that anymore. Snipers, the only model they can pick out from a unit is the leader. And this is confirmed by Warlord. It says, not the guy with the Panzerfaust, not the machine gunner, but the bloke in the fancy hat yelling orders. Personally, I don't like this change because I feel like it forces snipers to kill one guy out of a unit and then just move on to the next one. And it sort of limits the play and it limits the potential interactivity of the unit. I love the idea of there being a sniper who firstly targets the sergeant, killing him and the squad going into disarray, and then continually just slicing out like a blade, like a scalpel, slicing out usefulness and utility from a squad. First the sergeant goes, then the LMG gunner, then the guy with the SMG. And by the time the sniper is done, you'll have a unit that, even if it starts passing it or its orders, has got so little good equipment left, just a handful of rifles or maybe pistols, that they have been effectively neutered. That's not what you're going to get in 3rd edition. A sniper is going to blow the head off a sergeant and then retarget and choose another unit and then choose another unit and choose another unit. And that's okay, I guess. It's cool, the idea of just going for all those headshots on the sergeants. But I do think that if you find yourself in a scenario where your sniper is covering a firing lane and there's only 1 or 2 units going up that firing lane, then after you've made a couple of shots and killed a couple of NCOs, your sniper's usefulness basically completely drops off. Whereas if you could target special equipment inside a unit, it would mean that there would be more for that sniper to do in that scenario. And considering that bolt action boards tend to be 6x4, considering that units tend to be quite spread out, considering the longer ranges involved, I can definitely envisage a very common scenario where halfway through a game, a sniper suddenly doesn't really have any good targets because he's picked out a couple of sergeants on the part of the board that he is influencing. But having said all that, I think there's a good reason why Warlord has made this change. And it's not just for like the vibe and the historical accuracy of snipers always going for officers or whatever they say in the article. I think it's because of a rules balance. Because if you are someone who's bringing a bunch of LMGs and you go against someone who's got 2, 3, 4 snipers, then you've paid a whole bunch of points. You've paid like 15, 20 points per LMG, 3, 4, 5 points per SMG or assault rifle, and you've spent points from your list, and yet you never get to use those things. And so if snipers became really prevalent and really common, basically people would be just never bringing LMGs or anything like that because they just get sniped out constantly. So I suspect that this rule change to only going after NCOs is because NCOs are free. They come as part of the unit. So there's no feel badsies where you've paid for a piece of equipment and then your opponent just snipes it out and you feel like, what was the point of me even spending valuable points from my list on these things? Overall, taking everything into account from this article, I feel pretty positively about the changes to snipers. Sure, they can't pick out machine gunners from squads anymore, but they can really disrupt the enemy, and the impact that they could have on an army's morale by constantly making most enemy units -1 morale, not just order checks now, mass morale, is big. And considering that officers now have been standardized to be quite potent, so even your basic officer is going to be handing out +2 leadership and doing +2 bonus orders, I think they are going to be something that you find is a common occurrence in a lot of armies. I think everyone's going to be going into battle with a sniper now, but they're not going to be completely destroying units, but they will still have a measurable and noticeable impact on the game. As Warlord has put it, with more snipers available in every army, these icons of 2nd edition have evolved to carve a very similar niche in 3rd edition without becoming overwhelmingly and unrealistically powerful. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think snipers have been appropriately tweaked by Warlord? They've applied some important lessons learned from 2nd edition? Or do you think they may have been over nerfed? Do you plan on including one of these guys in your army? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously, guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.